Hello everyone, welcome to Weintek's webinar today, and my name is Peter, and I'll be talking about our CMT gateway with you. Okay, so today we discuss our gateway products that we have on the market right now, and how you could choose which gateway you can use for maybe your application. So, well, now everyone talks about Industry 4.0 and IIoT, about getting their machines to work together in synergy, about getting data to the cloud, to do analysis, to do predictive maintenance, to do artificial intelligence, for example. But let's do a reality check. When we do it, we run into a lot of financial problems or technical problems. Like if you are like machine operators, when you try to do this OT, IT, find that, okay, I want this some feature, but I can't afford a new machine, and I want to upgrade a version, and I don't have money to do it. Or you run into a problem where, okay, I want to try to add a protocol support for the IT people to get my data, but it's just too difficult. And there is other, other circumstances where we have very old legacy setup, and these setup must stay because there's just no replacement for these machines. On the flip side, the IT people, they find this a complicated subject as well, because first of all, for people, there are some people from IT, and we have been talking to some. They really just don't get PLC at all. They don't really understand the values of PLC, so they are, that's why they are not so interested in this subject. And in the industrial automation, there are just a lot of different brands of communication protocols, and the worst is that they are proprietary. So that makes IT people really hard to get into this integration as well. Let's come to the reality. If we can get a well-defined and safe data exchange model that we can bridge the two, the IT people and OT people, then maybe we can do something. Our approach is that we have come to develop OPC UA, and find are very suitable for these applications. Okay, so MQTT basically now is like the kind of like the IoT protocol, and OPC UA is the emerging industrial interoperability standard. So these are the probably the two of the key software features that our gateway work with. And in addition, we also have Modbus server that we have on our gateway, simply because the Modbus it has been most popular field bus protocol for the industry. So our gateway will support these three protocols from our gateway to integrate your ERP system, your MES system, or IoT applications. Okay, but on the other side, to the left, and which is actually the key of our, the essence of our product, or of our gateway product, is that we support more than 300, or right, I think more than 400 protocols, and that encompasses various brands of PLCs, and that includes what I said, the proprietary protocols and controllers that you see on the market. And how do we come to this, to this stage, is that we as professional HMI makers, we can speak a lot of machine language right now, and not only from the field of factory automation, so the PLCs, the inverters, the robotic arms, the CNC machines, those we are an expert in doing the communication. And we have come to other fields who have been using our HMIs, like the building automation. They requested the BACnet and the KNX protocols, or increasingly with the smart energy monitoring, we have the protocols for that, or there are other industrial equipments like barcode scanners, other I guess application specific equipment, and this goes on and on. So well, you can visit our PLC connection guide for all of the protocols that we support. Okay, so well, this is just to bring you to this page where the value of the gateway comes. So you could imagine that this is like the most extreme case where your factories have different stations, many stations, and each station are using different brands of the controllers, and they speak their proprietary protocols. And naturally, the control room will be in a mess just trying to deal with all these different protocols. But with the protocol gateways, the key is that our protocol gateways has the ability to convert these proprietary protocols into a standard protocol, which are OPC UA, as you see here, or for the IoT applications, they probably prefer the MQTT. So these is the key values of why our protocol gateways. So no different brands is no longer an issue when you use our Weintek's protocol gateways. Okay, speaking of the gateways, so far our gateway lines look like this. We have 4 products. It belongs to our CMT series and starts with a G for gateway. So from G01, 02 to 03 and to 04. So we announced our first gateway product in January 2017, and a year later we came out with a Wi-Fi version. And not too long ago, actually, a few months ago, we announced a different branch of our gateway products, which are the bridge product. So this is G03 and G04. Let's take a short look of what they are. So G01 and G02 are considered the standard gateway. So these standard gateways, they are equipped with up to 3 serial ports, so you can connect with up to 3 serial devices, and they have 2 separated network interfaces. And G02 has one of them being the Wi-Fi interface. So you can connect to the Ethernet PLCs with one interface, and you can connect to your external network or to the internet basically with another network interface. So you take the data from a serial PLC or Ethernet PLC from one end, and you send it out through one of the other network interface. So that's like the standard gateway. And on the other side, we have with G03 and G04, we have the bridge type gateway. We call them the bridge type. So these 2 are more special in that in the gateway, we kind of have a virtual bridge inside. So for G03, we have a virtual serial bridge, and the G04 we have a switch, but it's like in work, it's like a virtual Ethernet bridge. So these 2 gateways, their main purpose are used to supplement your existing HMI PLC. So you don't modify much of your current setup, but you can still take the data out and use your OPC UA server or MQTT to get the data to other applications. Okay, so on the hardware side or the interface side, there's like differences among the 4 models, but their software features, we try to keep them the same. So the key points, the OPC UA, the MQTT are definitely there for all of them. Okay. They also support database server, so you can take the data to the SQL database, and they support web server for accessing the data inside. We talked about that in a little bit. And other aspects of the hardwares for all the models are pretty much similar. So they have similar CPUs, they have the same amount of flash or RAM, and they can all work with a 24 industrial voltage, 24 volts DC. Okay. And their case are of the same size. So, well, despite the last page, they look kind of different, but they're actually the same size. All right, so now let's review a little bit more details of the major features of these gateways. So first, of course, the OPC UA, the server and client, and the MQTT server and client feature. They're available on all of these, and they're the most important feature of anything. If it's anything you get, these two are the information you need. Okay, and also I talked about they can interface with database server, and that's through the data logger and event logger. So basically, these two were the HMI's functions. They're used quite frequently in the HMIs, but now you can sync these to an external database. And some other notable features are the EasyAccess 2.0 for remote access, and there's also macro for writing short programs to automate your day-to-day work. And there's data transfer feature for you to kind of swap data between different brands of PLCs. Let's go with the first one. It's the OPC UA Server. Okay, so OPC UA Server, we talked about this webinar in a lot of details. So here I just quickly go through. Again, the most important part is that OPC UA, now it is the industry 4.0 protocol. It's basically kind of sanctioned by the industry 4.0 committee. So basically, it's IEC standard, and the most important feature is that it's basically it has a special address space on the server. So this address space is used, unlike PLCs. If you're familiar with PLCs, the traditional ones, they have like a memory block. So you have to assign different parts of memory for different features. But you have used recent ones like Siemens. Now they are pushing, or I think Omron too, they push for more tech-based PLCs. So you access, for ones who have to access the data from a PLC, they just look at they look at their address space in the case of OPC UA. So it's like a tree type structure, and everything comes in English or your local language, and you immediately know what data it entails. So if you're for an IT people, everything, all the details of a text are contained in the name already. And then there's no really translation from the PLC memory to what it really means. So other things like on top of the address space, the OPC UA, they have information model, concept, which builds on top of the address space. So I think many of the different industries, they are building their industry specific information model, like I think like Euromap for like injection molding machines. And for like gas and oil industry, they have their own information model, and they can apply to the address map that you see here, so that as we go down, then we understand that okay, when we're dealing with the industry and we're using know that what tags we'll be dealing with, and we don't worry about whether we are missing some data or not. Okay, and some other key points is that OPC UA is secure by default. It uses an X509 certificate exchange for security and encryption, and this is basically the industry standard right now. And it's platform independent, so it works. So there's apps that works on basically on our machines, on Windows, on Android, etc. And the details. Okay, so well, if you really need to know, this is the thing to know. Our server has been certified by the OPC Foundation. So the foundation is an organization which oversees basically the development of this OPC UA technology. So being certified means that our OPC UA server complies with all the standards listed in their documents and also the interoperability requirements. So the certification not only does the compliance tests, so the compliance tests are the, again, all the rules, how our service should behave, but also the usability, the behavior, the interoperability, and efficiency tests. So when you use our OPC UA, you can expect that our OPC UA server should work, it has a decent interface for working with it, and it should work with other clients very well. Okay, so that's about their being certified. Okay, so you can actually go to the OPC Foundation's website, and you'll see our products being listed there, and there's all the details like which parts are where we are certified, etc. So, and the first one was OPC UA. Next week's thing was the MQTT. If that was for industry automation, MQTT is made for the IoT. Okay, so the MQTT is a lightweight PubSub protocol. So it works different from the traditional polling response way of communication. So basically, you have a server in the center, and your client will subscribe to a topic from the server. And whenever a publisher has the data, it will update the data to the server, and the server will get the data to the subscriber. Okay. So this is the basic concept. And when you make it bigger and bigger, and that's your MQTT's network. So some key points is that the message is based on topics. The message can be arbitrary, which the IT people will definitely like. And it is also secure because it supports the TLS encryption. So security is not an issue as well, even for MQTT. All right, so the next one is the database. Like HMI has the functions of synchronizing our data logs and event logs to the database. Our gateway can do exactly the same thing. So it really breaks from other people's gateways. So our gateway kind of actually has the functions of a data logger. So it works with MySQL's database server and Microsoft SQL Server. And I'm sure that IT people will be pleased to know this because it will definitely save them a lot of time to try to pour the data out from our machine. Okay, next one's EasyAccess 2.0. So if you're not familiar with this, Weintek's in-house developed remote access solution. So with this solution, you can access your HMI anywhere, basically anywhere in the world. And our architecture even allow you to access the PLC that's connected to your HMI through a pass-through functions. And also bundled with the EasyAccess is the push notification service. So push notification is like what you have on your chatting app, like your WhatsApp, your Line, or WeChat. When your message come out, you see it in your in the background screen. So similarly, when your HMI, or in the case, when your gateway push out some event notices, it will show up in your cell phone as a push notification. So that if it's really important, like you can set it as in to, okay, that stuff is something that's really broken down for push notification. And then when you receive it, then you know it's something that you have to attend to immediately. Okay. Macro and data transfer, and this is also a big feature we have in our HMI. So macro is what we can use it to write some short programs to basically manipulate the data. And data transfer is it's a useful feature for you to move data between the PLC. So our gateways can connect to more than 9 controllers, of course. So we can allow you to transfer between them, even though they're using different protocols. And so even with our gateways, there's no screen to to actually execute these transfers, but you can use like a macro to automate to a certain extent. So another feature of our gateway is the web feature. So our gateway has web server, so you can log into our web server to check out the settings of the gateway, and you can upload project, download project, do the security profile settings, etc. But the more important part is what's exclusive to the gateway is you can configure the OPC UA and communication settings on the web page. But this is more clearly explained if I just use a short demo. So you can see this is I have an GO1 in my office, and here I'm opening its web page. So different from non-gateway models, we have OPC UA and communication tabs. And since we're on this page, we'll talk about communication. So basically, this page will show all the PLC that has been set up for this, and you can change. Basically, I guess the better word is tune. You can tune the parameters like the baud rates, the data bits, the serial related parameters. So when you are on the field, you're setting up your gateways. It's a good feature for you, so you don't have to go to the software and then do the tuning. Just make a little change and download each time. So this is a quick way to for you to tune your communication parameters. And then there's the OPC UA page. So there's a lot of things you can do on this. Basically, almost everything you can do on this OPC UA page. And it's this OPC UA page that will help us actually achieve our certification. So on this web page, you can basically set everything about your OPC UA. Okay, so you can set up the connection profile, the security, and you can manage the certificates with like which clients are allowed, which clients are not. You can put in their own certificate, etc. So a lot of these are actually part of the certification process. So you'll see them, these interfaces are already here for users to use easily. And you can even edit the notes here. So the OPC UA's tags, as I explained earlier, are kind of like tree type. And on this web page, you can do this. You can, like here, I can add a tag that I want. So I'm using Mitsubishi PLC. I can write a new tag. It's just an example. It's a bit address. It's writable. Okay. And I'll hit save. And this update will be reflected on the gateway and the OPC server itself. Okay, so you don't have to do everything in the software again. You can do this on a run on the web page. Okay, so this is one of the very user-friendly feature of the gateway. Okay, so that was about the key software that I talked about. Now let's look at how we intend our gateway to be used. That's looking at the interface or the hardware of it. So starting with the GO1, the GO1 has two Ethernet ports. So these two Ethernet ports are separated. And so we intend one Ethernet port to be connected to the machine network. So this is the one that doesn't connect to the internet. So only lane only. And the other one is intended for company or factory network. So that goes to the internet. So that one would goes to MQTT if your server is in the internet or allows remote connection inbound. And it has a 3 serial ports that's within one DB sub 9 pin configuration. So supporting at least one for each of the RS-232, RS-485 2 wires, and RS-485 4 wires. Okay, so you can have up to 3 different devices at the same time. A GO2 is pretty much similar to GO1, except that you can see it's pretty obvious that one Ethernet port is replaced by a Wi-Fi port, and this is a port that connects to the internet. So this Wi-Fi port is the main port. All right, so how do you use GO1 then? So GO1, you can consider using it directly as a protocol gateway directly. So if you have like a new project, right, then if you need to get the PLC data out to the IoT applications, then if you don't need a string like an HMI, then you can consider just use a gateway. So the gateway will connect to your PLCs and the data will come out through the internet or intranet to the OPC UA, MQTT, etc. So this is a way you can use it directly. So gateway directly connected with your PLC. You don't use an HMI. Or if you have an existing setup already, you have an HMI with a PLC, and you want to kind of upgrade these to have the IoT feature, then if you can have additional communication interface from a PLC, for example, you can add a communication module, or if it's in the case of Ethernet, you can like open a new port. If you can use the Ethernet module, for example, then you can do it this way. And basically, the gateway GO1 just connect to the module, and data goes up to the OPC UA MQTT similar. Okay. And if your application your application is mobile, maybe like on a moving car, for example, or conveyor, for example, then maybe you might consider using a Wi-Fi module. So everything else being the same, but you can use a GO2, and your GO2 can connect to an access point, and the access point will take it to the internet. Okay, so GO1, GO2 are straightforward. GO3 is quite different. So GO3, first of all, it also has an Ethernet port that connects to company and factory network. So that's two for MQTT, etc. But for the serial ports, it has two serial ports, but they're not both used for PLC communication. So these serial ports are like transparent serial ports. So these two are connected internally by a virtual serial bridge. Okay. So COM1 is for inbound connection. COM2 is for outbound connection. Okay. So the goal of the principle of the GO3 is for upgrading this existing serial-based controller and touch panel setup without having to modify anything or any code. Between COM1 and COM2, they're transparent, which means that what comes in to COM1 will go out to COM2, and what comes back from COM2, our Geo3 will move it to COM1 so that the HMI won't notice the difference. So let's look at it in more detail. So when I said the inbound and outbound connections of COM1 and COM2, I literally means that you can actually basically cut the cables that the existing HMI and PLC have and just plug them in to COM1 and COM2, just like this. So this is really for if you have existing machines and your HMI and PLC are already connected directly already in serial form. But after the transformation with our Geo3, then your HMI will have serial line coming in to COM1, and the COM2 will come out a serial out to the PLC. And the point is that first, you won't need an additional serial interface. So if you don't have any serial interface, then this is a problem that we're trying to solve. And the second is that the HMI and PLC connection will not be affected. So anything that comes in, we let it go out, and the response that comes back from the PLC, we hand it back to the original HMI. And in between their original communication, our Geo3 can send additional message to the PLC and then collect our own data that will be available for sending upwards. Okay, so I want to mention that this transparent COM1 and COM2 virtual bridge is a software-based one. Okay, so it's not hardware directly wired. So it might be limited by the availability of the software. While we think that most of the software should be supported, so far we have verified with these drivers. So these drivers are the ones that we do have available in our lab, which we already extensively tested. So there are the Weintek, the Kians, the Koyo, the Mitsubishi, Modbus, Omron, and Panasonic PLCs. And there should be other brands that already works, like example like Delta's PLC. Like Delta PLCs is similar to a Modbus protocol, even though we don't list it here, but it's pretty obvious that we're confident that it should work as well. So yours might work as well, but I won't say 100%, but if we can just verify the actual thing, then we'll be more sure. We reviewed these availability periodically, and this list will be posted and updated regularly in our Geo3's user manual, so you can check regularly. All right, the Geo4 is the last kit. It's basically an extension, an ideas extension to Geo3. So if Geo3 is an serial bridge and Geo4 is an Ethernet bridge. Okay, so there's no serial port on Geo4. So if you're connecting to a serial port PLC, then Geo4 is definitely not for it. Okay. But the special feature is that first of all, it has a lane port for connecting to the internet. While the other feature is that it has the other two Ethernet ports. We call them switch port. It's because that internally these two are switch interfaces. Okay, so why are they switched? And if we just look at the problem we try to solve, then it'll be more clear. So the problem that I try to solve is for current setup that's directly connected already by Ethernet cable. So you have HMI and PLC already connected. Then if you want to have each other, but you still also want to take the data out from the PLC, Then this is what you do. You plug in the cables from the PLC and HMI to one of the switch port. Okay. So inside it works like a switch. So the HMI or PLC will work as normal. But our in this kind of configuration, then our GO4 can read data or write data from the PLC and then set it upwards through OPC UA, MQTT, etc. You're probably thinking like, well, you can do this with a switch, then an additional switch, of course. Then you're right, but is it will save you basically, well, it save you the cost of getting a industrial switch. And not only the switch itself, we understand that in order for especially the more bigger organizations, like their equipments, before they can use it in their factories, requires like very extensive testing and certification, paperwork, etc. So if we could have kind of two-in-one model that works as a protocol gateway and also a switch, then basically will save not only the money of getting a new switch, but also the paperwork and verification process that you will need for those kind of organizations. So that's our idea for GO4. Okay, so in this the few slides, I kind of summarize like how you can choose our protocol gateways for you. So first thing, you can ask yourself, is it what you need? Do I need to collect PLC data? Maybe do some initial data processing, and I need to send them out, and I can do it by having an OPC UA server, an MQTT, or having a Modbus TCP server, and is my PLC one of the ones supported by Weintek? If both of the answers are yes, then I think you can consider our Weintek CMT gateway. Then next step, you ask yourself, am I planning a new installation? Is it a new project? If yes, then probably you can work with a GO1, GO2, and then interface it with the PLC and then get the data out. Okay, if it's not a new project, then you can check yourself. Is there an additional communication interface that's available for the gateway? Like, can I add a module, or maybe can I maybe reprogram my PLC to like maybe open a new port, etc., or enable a new serial port if you already had two or more? Yes, then you probably can still use a GO1 and GO2. Okay, we talked about this earlier. Okay, if none of the above works, then you might want to consider GO3 or GO4, so that these gateway will add to your existing setup, so without interfering your project at all. So additional things that you might want to consider. So if you have the choice of GO1 and GO2, then GO2 has a wireless capability. Then you consider whether if your unit are sparsely located, so are they far away, that you have like different applications where you have stations that need to be mostly like there'd be like resident at different stores, or they're located far away, then or mobile application, or when you just don't want the cables, then maybe you can use GO2 for the gateway. And our gateway GO1, GO2, and GO4 all support separation of network, which you can consider. And if one of your ideas is to save on an industrial Ethernet switch and related cables, then maybe GO4 can be considered for you. All right. So let's look at some cases. So these cases are, I didn't just make all of them up. So they are actually based on real cases. I cannot give you more further details than these. But Looking at these cases, you can have an idea of that basically our gateways actually applies not only to like the machine makers who use HMI before. People from IT, even people from the management should and could and should consider adopting these protocol gateways in their projects. Because in the various cases we'll visit here, you see that the case user might be the user, might be the machine maker, might be the management, or from or software guy. Okay, the case number one, like the first case is from a machine maker. So this machine maker, their current machine uses an Omron PLC and with an X brand HMI. And they have a client, and their client has an Industry 4.0 initiative. And they require a secure and encrypted transmission of data from source to their client's SCADA program. Okay, so they can work with their SCADA. They can have discussion about what protocols they want to use, but the choice must be justified. So for this case, they've come to a conclusion result that they will use the GO3. And this is actually a classic example for GO3, because GO3 can bridge the connection between this brand of HMI and the Omron PLC. And we already tested that in our lab already. And the GO3 will provide an OPC UA server for secure data exchange to their SCADA program. So this problem is solved with GO3 installation, and they don't have to reprogram their HMI or PLC at all. Let's look at case number two. So case number two is from the point of view of a system integrator. They're doing a distributed photovoltaic project. So panels, they want to install rooftops, right? And the integrator have their in-house IoT platform, and they know it. They know their stuff. So they want to use MQTT for application integration. And these panels have very generic inverters that use Modbus for communication. So the solution for this, actually, the backbone of the problems, actually any HMI should work. But considering that these solar panels are going to be installed on a rooftop, so nobody will go to the rooftop to check your HMI. So basically, a protocol gateway will suffice because there's nothing needed for this application. And plus, because these solar panels are put far away on a rooftop by naturally by the design, so they don't want the cables. GO2 with Wi-Fi equipped is a good choice for their application. And let's look at case number three. So case number three comes from an end user. So this end user use another brand of HMI different from the case one with a Mitsubishi PLC, and it currently has the SCADA software, and the SCADA software, the included package are only Modbus server and client capability, and software access data from its Mitsubishi. So this is again another classic example of GO3's application. But just note that we released the GO3 first came available with 6.1.2, but this version did not have the Modbus TCP server yet. But with the coming 6.2.1, we're adding the Modbus TCP server to the GO3. So this would be the solution, an ideal solution for this user. Okay, let's look at another case. This case already running, okay, from a mechanical part manufacturer. Their company, they want to incorporate their IoT smart manufacturing, just like you and everyone. Okay, but they'll start with the new machine installations, These old ones are hard to do. Okay, so their requirements in short is that the data must be organized and ready for inspection by the management anytime with no delay. Okay, so the company has an IT department who will be in charge of this issue, but the IT guys ask that the data be in an easy format. So there are probably many approaches for this case. You can do with HMI. Well, this is not specified. What this they did about it. Okay. But in the end, a gateway is what they've chosen. Okay. So they chose GO1 as with the certified OPC UA server, and they use the OPC UA to get their data to their own software. Well, we don't know the PLCs they use, it's undisclosed, but with all the PLC drivers we have, so anyway, it just works for them. Okay, the next case. So this case is concerns a multinational consumer product manufacturer. So this company also on the way to the IoT smart manufacturing concept. But the headquarter IT now in charge of this, like data collection, processing, visualization, but they face a big problem. It's that their organization are just too large, and there are too many teams and suppliers they have to deal with. And each of the suppliers and teams currently now work with their own spec and their own data format. So the IT team got this huge headache to integrate all the data. Okay, so from their point of view, a standard is definitely a way for them to do the integration. Okay, so we do recommend then use any one of the CMT gateway. So probably it depends on use. It could be GO1, GO2, GO3, GO4, because the contract suppliers' machines might be in different stage. We don't know. And what they could do is they could maybe centrally purchase a gateway from us and distribute it to all of their suppliers. And as long as their suppliers can work with one of our PLC drivers, then that's all they have to worry about. Then the headquarter IT just need to teach them to make the data available in MQTT format or OPC UA by using our software and our protocol conversion gateway. So this is how we might solve this problem with this multinational manufacturer. Okay, so the last case, the case number 6, involves a software consultant of Industry 4.0. Okay, so this software consultant has all the data management skills and analysis tools and expertise, but he doesn't have experience on the operations side. And this time when he's in partnership with the traditional manufacturing industry, basically a garment factory, he runs to this problem because he doesn't have the protocols, or finds it difficult to interface with what's inside the factory already. And this the partner generates enormous amount of data about the operations of every single workstation of their garment manufacturing. Okay, so in this situation, basically GO1, GO2, our GO1, GO2 can connect to their PLC and sensors that's currently in the factory. And because their data is, their amount is large, the best solution for this is to use an MQTT to get the data out to an MQTT server hosted inside the factory. And the software consultant, they can write their software to subscribe to this MQTT server and do the after post processing of the data. And I think in the end, G02 with Wi-Fi was more of their choice. All right, so I think we're about time. So in the end, I just want to summarize a little bit. So this is our gateway products, CMT, G01, G02, G03, and G04. And they have their own features and applications. And G01, G02 more for as a pure protocol gateway, where you can have serial or Ethernet interfaces for them. For G03 and G04, bridge gateway, so they are used to add to your existing HMI PLC setup, and they try not to interfere with current setup, so you don't have to do modification to your current setup, and original setup should work still. But this G03, G04 will in addition take out the PLC's data and send it up to through the OPC UA, MQTT, etc. All right, so I think this is about it. And thank you very much for joining us today.